This some serious gourmet shit.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the French press, which is probably the most, other than this fucking thing right here, the most common way people brew coffee, just because it's super easy. There's really not a whole lot to it. Cleanup is kind of a pain in the ass, but it's really no different than this, because you're still probably scooping or lifting something out of a thing. So we have two parts to a French press. We have the actual thingy, the hell would you call it? A vessel? I don't know. Then you have the plunger, which is this nifty thing here. It has the lid. It just fits in there like so, and it does that. But the trick to a French press, which most people, I mean, I've heard a lot of different things as far as how to brew, but I found the most consistent way so you don't get a ton of grounds in your coffee is initially after it's done brewing. So if the coffee's in here, just so you can see for sake, people say, oh, it's just done brewing. You just plunge it down, push all the grounds down to the bottom, and you can pour out, which makes sense. However, I like to keep it up here when it's brewing, which we'll show you later. And after it's done brewing, I get a spoon or something. I stir the ground so it breaks them up on the top, stops it from brewing, all the grounds float down to the bottom, and then you can just plunge it about halfway, and that'll keep most of the grounds out of the coffee, and you'll have a rather clean cup of coffee from a French press. As far as the kind of coffee I like to brew in a French press, I prefer medium to dark roasts, just because, again, same reasons as this one. If you use something too light, you're going to get a lot of bitterness in it, and it's not going to be very pleasant. So I guess as far as the grind, what you want to use in a French press is you want to use the coarsest possible setting if you have a grinder. If you don't have a grinder and you get your beans from a roaster or a local coffee shop, you can ask them just to grind it for a French press. Chances are they'll know what that is. If they don't, then stop buying from them. Anyway. But yeah. If you're looking at that is about what the coffee ground should look like. And I'm going to have to flip this video because my phone's upside down. But yeah, that's what the grounds look like. It's a little bit coarser than sea salt. Actually, I think a lot coarser than sea salt. But yeah, here's a nice up-close shot of what they look like. So, once you have that, this time I have my coffee pre-ground so we don't take up a shit ton of time. And I think I'm using, about 30 grams of coffee. So again, with the French press, I like to actually go a 1:16 ratio. I like to go a little bit lighter just because it's in there for a long time. You're going to get a lot of grittiness in there from the coffee anyway. And this is technically called an immersion brewing, meaning the coffee and water is just kind of like sitting there, kind of doing its thing. It's not like a pour over where the water is exposed to the coffee for however many seconds it takes it to pass through from the one that hits the top of the coffee bed to the bottom. So 1:16, 30 grams times 16 equals 488 grams of water. Again, I like to measure it out in grams because I'm an asshole. And we're just gonna do one of these nifty little pours. Again, when I pour water, I just try to make sure that I get the grounds evenly saturated. So that's kind of why I'm just moving this around so I can hit all the grounds on the edge. And once I do that, I just pour it in there. Eventually we'll get there. 483 close enough. So once you get to that point, you just take your lid and your plunger, just sit it on top, make sure this stays all the way up. You can start your timer for 4 minutes. And then if you're in the morning, you can just go about your morning, take your dogs out, make sure your kids don't shit themselves, do the dishes, make yourself breakfast, watch YouTube videos, I don't know, whatever you want to do in your morning. And one blast off. Okay, so it's been 4 minutes, which is what I typically like to brew French press for. You can go a little bit shorter or you can go a little bit longer if you want. I don't have a spoon, so I was going to use these stir sticks, but pocket knife is better. So you can just stir. So your grounds are going to sit up on top here. Stir it. That top part's got the crust. Once you stir it, it's going to break it up. All the grounds are going to float down to the bottom and stop brewing. So you just have to let it sit a little bit longer. I usually go to like 6 minutes, put the plunger back on, go about halfway into the coffee, so about right mirror, and then you can pour. Yeah, it's perfect timing. All right, so it's 6 minutes, 30 seconds, close enough. So what you're gonna do, you'll feel it when the plunger, the filter, the screen mesh thing, or whatever the hell you want to call it, when it's at the top of the coffee. Once it's that, I usually just go a bit further. Don't go all the way down to the bottom because you're going to disturb the coffee bed. That's going to bring a lot of the grounds up and around the filter, and then it's going to get into your coffee. And when you get further down into your cup, it's going to start to get real gritty and earthy, and it's not going to taste good. I don't know about you, but I don't like the grittiness and like earthiness in the coffee. I like it in a clean sense in the cup, kind of like how the V60 is, but I don't like it when there's a lot of grit and like dirt feel to it almost, which is kind of what you get. So don't be like me and try and pour it when it's not opened, you know? Yeah, you want a hot cup of coffee. Coffee ASMR, ASMR. I have fucking no idea. But yeah. Holy fuck, that's hot. Jesus fucking Christ. What the hell are you doing? That's how I prefer to brew a cup of coffee with, or how I prefer, I can't talk. That is how I prefer to brew coffee in a French press. You can take this method, you can play with it, you can do however you like. These are just my guidances, and I don't necessarily have all the answers, but this is how I prefer to do it. So I'm just making one of them videos to put on the internets for y'all to see how I do my coffee at my coffee company. Sweet, let's go to the next one.
Wow.